All right, we just finally arrived at the end of the legislative session, and it was an absolute nightmare from top to bottom. I think the biggest and most important thing that happened was the supplemental budget that was passed by the legislature and just recently signed by Governor Janet Mills. I think we've all been paying attention for years to the amount of spending that they've been doing. This was no exception. They spent hundreds of millions more dollars on a bunch of ideas that make absolutely no sense, including but not limited to the $300 checks that are being sent out to Mainers across Maine, funded by the Rainy Day Fund. But of course, the biggest and most important thing about it was the broken campaign promise of Janet Mills to not raise your taxes. Now, one of the central parts of this supplemental budget was the push to increase taxes. This has long been a dream of the Democrats in the legislature to try to increase the income tax once again. Janet Mills for many years has said that she didn't want to do that and indeed campaigned against it. But in the last hours of the legislative session, she cut a deal with the Democrats in her own majority party to ultimately support it. And that means it's going into effect. And while they say that it's just for millionaires, it's a millionaire's tax, you and I both know that that's going to affect the entire economy, drive people away from the state, make investment here much less likely, and it's very likely that each and every year, the legislature, in its never-ending search for more money, will continue to drop the threshold of who this tax applies to so that it's nowhere near just a millionaire's tax. We know this from the past when they tried to institute a 3% surcharge on incomes that were over a couple $100,000 several years ago. So this is clearly where they want to go. So this budget was a disaster from top to bottom, and you need to learn more about it. Fortunately, Maine Policy Institute's here for you. Visit mainepolicy.org, find our research, look into what we've been saying about this budget and the rest of the legislative session today.